Bobby, before we move on?
Well, I just wanted to just thank you both for those answers, because it makes me feel a little more at rest. And also that, after seeing tons and tons of episodes of Ancient Aliens, when beings came down and beings were resident amongst us, it just makes so much sense to me that we as humans would assume that they're gods, that we would attribute that they're the perfection that we see as source, that we would ascribe that to star beings that would come onto this earth. To me, that just seems like the most natural thing in the world, to assume that all star beings are gods. Anyway, just wanted to just kind of mention that from a purely human point of view.
That's a really good point. And many of them, they're more evolved than humanity, so they could be, seen as gods or being seen as perfect, but they're always evolving as well. They don't know everything. And I love it. My original star family, Quabar, said to me, we're not better than you. We're more evolved, but we are not better. And I always think that's really important for people to know, because some people do start to kind of worship the star beings as gods and goddesses.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. Carrie.
Great to see you.
You too, but I just got to quickly say Bobby's great. She's helping me out with mixing star music for me in light languages, and she's just great. And I know Carrie well too, so it's great to see you.
Good to see you too.
Well, hey, Bobby, if you got a website, you can put it in the chat. We can put it in the description of the video if you like.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. And I don't.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much anyway.
Sure. Okay, so next we have Michael and then Ian. Michael, you're on.
Hi, thanks for having me. I've got two questions. I put it in the chat. The first question is, do star beings wage war against each other? And second one is, do they create or have warriors or soldiers for battle? That's it. Thanks.
Dude, you want to take that one or start with that one?
Look, I'm sure it happens on some of the level 1 planets, but certainly not above that. This whole idea of Star Wars and all going on in space, I've never come across anything like that, and I'm sure Jacquelin hasn't either. Once you move past that 10% consciousness, no way. I mean, we do peacekeeping work, but there's nothing warlike about it. There is an alternative hybrid program being run down here by the military group called MilAbs, Military Abductions. And yes, they are creating super soldiers, but they're from right here. They're not our people. And in fact, I've worked with one of them and helped her out, who was trying to escape from them. And some of the stories she told me that goes on with this MilAb is really horrible.
Yeah.
Have you heard of anything there, Jacquelin, with the MilAb stuff? Have you come across any of them?
I haven't personally. I think it potentially could happen again at a very low frequency level, but I personally have not fortunately had to deal with that.
No. I mean, I've never seen, I know you haven't either, never seen any military personnel aboard our ships. Never.
No.
I've spoken to another one of our people down here, Susie Hanson. She says the same thing. Never seen anything military on our ships.
Right, exactly. No.
We're up there all the time.
Thank you.
Okay, Ian, you're next.
Yeah, Jacquelin, where do you live at the moment?
On the ship. I'm being silly, but I'm kind of not, because I live.
No, Whereabouts on a planet Earth are you at the moment? I mean, you don't be specific. Just tell me what country you're in.
Oh gosh, I'm in the Midwest in the US.
Right.
But I do spend, you know, a number of nights on ship, doing different kinds of work, in different galaxies, and that I do a lot of healing work on board other ships. You know, we're multidimensional, so I'm here, but I can also be in touch with a part of me that's on a ship doing healing work. I know Jude and I have experienced that, doing healing work on others on the ship. And so, but yeah, I live in the US.
And where are you, Judy?
I'm in Australia, Queensland.
So you've both got your furniture in different countries. I mean, I thought perhaps you were both in the same country, and yeah, it might have been an import to the same country, but this is incredible that it's even in two different countries, two different continents.
Yes, that's what blew our minds. It was funny because the first time we Skyped after Leo Sprinkle brought us together, and Jacquelin came on, I didn't have the screen up behind me. She had it behind her, and I was sort of doing a double take. I said, just hang on a minute. I went off to the side, dragged mine in.
That's incredible that they're in different continents even. That's even. Yeah. I just wanted to mention, you might be able to help me on this as well, Judy, but I know that Jacquelin in her interview with Whitley mentioned about the timelines and about how manipulation of timelines, and I think the quote is something about how the future can affect the past. So could you just tell us a little bit about the timelines and manipulation of timelines?
Yeah, because look, when we get beyond 3D down here, there is no time. Everything's in the now. And so therefore a future event can certainly happen what is happening now, or can affect an event from the past. How I describe it is, it's like someone's traveling along a very long meandering river on a boat, and they can remember what they've experienced behind them, but they can't see because there's a bend there, and they can't see what's ahead because there's a bend in the river right ahead of them. Someone hovering above in a helicopter can see them, and they can see the whole river, what's in front of them, what's behind them. And this is how it's perceived from up on in higher dimensions of reality. How we could see that it's all in the now. That river is all now. It's not a future and it's not a past. A droplet of water is in a certain part of it, but the river itself is everywhere. And that's how time is.
And on the subject of the timelines, just very quickly, is often abductees and experiencers that I talk to have mentioned about there being some sort of future event that they think that they are being prepared for. They're shown images on screens, etc. Are these possible likely events, or are they events that are going to happen? Can it be changed, or what is the purpose of all of this education about the events?
Yeah, they're possible events that what could happen. Because the thing is, and this is something really important that the ETs talk about all the time, we create our own reality through our minds. So my reality may not necessarily be your reality. And this is what my teacher Mara sent a teaching through some years ago on the importance of connecting into positivity as opposed to negativity, because we are creating our reality all the time. And so what often the images people are showing up on the ships of disasters down here, they're showing a possibility. Look, if you don't change, this is what's going to happen, but nothing set in concrete.
I see. Okay. Well, that's fascinating too. That this is all, possible events that may happen, because so many people have different versions of the events, such as an object hitting the planet, or tidal waves, or different kind of catastrophes. But anyway, I'll step back now because I think other people have got their hands up. So thank you very much.
Okay, so it's my turn. Jacquelin, you're talking earlier about butterflies. Now, species are brought from one planet to another And I want to ask you both, what in your understanding is the mechanism? How do they get to different planets, like throughout the galaxy? How does this happen?
I'll
Well,
leave that to Jacquelin. Be my guest.
what they're able to do is, there's already, we could say in another star system, the butterflies already exist there. I mean, that was their origin. So what they do is then they take the DNA of that butterfly and tailor it in a way that will be conducive to Earth conditions. So the butterflies here on Earth, I mean, there are all different sizes of butterflies, but they don't, I'm not aware of any that have 3-foot wingspan. But I remember seeing them, you know, where Jude and I were raised. And so they take the DNA and then they are able to create, they have a template, and then they are able to create the body. And the body can be similar from the star system that they came from, but again, it's tailored to Earth, like the dolphins. They're amazing, but when I communicate with I call them dolphin-like beings, I perceive them as these beautiful globes of neon blue light with these 30 feet or larger, and kind of see them with, we could perceive as a tail, but it's just this rainbow tail. And it's not really a tail. And the rainbows are the frequencies that they carry. So when they come here to Earth, they still carry those frequencies. The dolphins who are here carry those frequencies. But the body has to be tailored to be able to do what those beings are here to do. In the oceans, you know, where they come from, it's more like a gel, a dimension of gel, or they come from the Lyran system and other systems. And so their bodies are just different, but they are carrying the same frequency, and they've come here to help assist with Earth and to educate, to help raise the frequencies.
But how did they get here, though? What's the mechanism? Well, how do they get here?
Setting intention. The beings set their intention for that butterfly to manifest here, and then they just take that DNA and put it into a template and create the form from that template, making it physical here on Earth.
Okay. Did you want to answer that too, Judy? Do you have an answer, like the mechanism, how they get here?
That sounds good to me. I agree with everything Jacquelin said.
Yes, I'm
Yeah, I
wondering
mean,
who is the
intention-
they? Is the they the butterfly that sets the intention?
Work together. We work together. We're all in oneness.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like Jeff Selver here in Vancouver, Ian and I know him very well. We've sat through about 35 hours of videos. And you see the Greys he's been with throughout his life, like the Mantids, for instance, regard the galaxy as their neighborhood, and they're like gardeners. And he said the Mantids, bring beings from one planet to the next, mix and match like a garden. So there seems to be an organizational structure. The Mantids are like architects, and we know personally. I've spoken with Christina in Ohio. You're in Ohio, and she felt the Mantid. She was a very cheerful girl. She says, the Mantid actually needed her emotions. And Jeff said, well, they probably needed your emotions on another planet. So the Mantids were the architects. In my understanding, this is the mechanism how they're brought from planet to planet. It's the Mantids that are doing this. What do you think of that?
Well, other beings are too. It's not just the mantis. I mean, the mantis are very good at doing that, but there are many other star beings who are doing that work as well. And there's alliances, who are working together. The Mantids work with the angelic realm. They work with the dolphin-like beings. They work with the Zetas. I mean, there are a number of groups that work together and are able to kind of mix and match. What else to say?
Yeah,
Right.
I'm really interested in sort of the organization. How does the galaxy work? Like say that butterfly, how would that butterfly know? They want to go a quarter way across the galaxy to be a butterfly on Earth. How would that butterfly know that? Isn't there a higher intelligence, the architect, the mantid, that decides it for the butterfly?
It's their soul that decides where they're going to go and in what form and where.
Okay. I can see limitations in my own thinking. Like most of the time I'm a third dimensional being. Sometimes I channel a bit. So I'm trying to open my mind to don't know, just being open to. I just really appreciate this is a really good meetup. This is a really good discussion we're having here. So who is next? It's my job to remember. Laura's got her hand up. She hasn't spoken. Oh, Manik was next, and then Laura, since they haven't spoken. You want to go, Manik? In Cambodia. She came all the way from Cambodia to join us. Thanks.
Yeah,
Anik,
and
actually, it's Anik.
yeah, and with COVID. Yeah, guys. So I have many questions. I'm sorry for the others, 2 minutes. So we were talking about MK Ultra, I think, Judy, and you said that it has an effect on different messages channeled, but still, I think there are lower density beings, no, that are trying to avoid that humans evolve or not. Judy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I call them the Repterrans. I talk about this in my book, Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth, Lessons in History. What they are, they're a very, very ancient Earth-human race that was created at the time of the dinosaurs. And they basically fell off the path and decided that they wanted to be in control down here, so they hijacked the planet. We actually had a meeting up on the ship back in November 2011 along these lines, what we were going to try and do about this hijacking. And this was when I was asked to write this book so people would understand. So a lot of the negative stuff that's going on is actually coming from these ones. Some of them are manifesting in 3D human form, and others are in another dimension in a more reptoid form. And they're giving a very, very bad name to the Greys and the genuine off-planet reptilians because they pose as both. Dr. Stephen Greer talks about the PLFs, the programmed life forms, and they were originally developed by this Repterran group from DNA taken from genuine Greys who died in ship crashes. And they're basically, as he calls them, programmed life forms. They're clones that have implants in them, and they very, very closely resemble the Greys. They've been made that way specifically to make people scared of the genuine Greys. So yes, there is negative stuff. There's negative stuff coming through from lower dimensions here, particularly to do with people who are affected by alcohol and drugs. They can draw this sort of stuff through. So yes, definitely there is negative stuff going on.
Okay. And you just talked about implant. That gives me another question. I'm sorry. Do actually our cosmic family and friends put implants in humans?
We carry implants ourselves. The implants are often put into the chakra system because the chakra, the energy system, has to be kept in balance for maximum health on both physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels. And so we carry implants to help to keep our energy system in balance and also to help us to get onto the ship. So I'm sure Jacquelin would agree with me here. But again, this negative group is putting implants in as well. In some cases, giving people psychic and clairvoyant abilities that they're not spiritually or emotionally able to handle, or give out messages that aren't necessarily true. And in fact, up on the ship one night, I removed an implant from a human man who had one of these in. It was messing with him horribly. So yeah, there's also all sorts of stuff going on along those lines.
Okay. So next question. Why is that humans have this ego and not other Earth being on and beyond? Why is it?
Because this is a very polarized planet. That's
What
the
do you
bottom
mean
line.
with that?
Well, down here we talk in Eastern philosophy. They have the concept of yin and yang, negative and positive, which is simply electricity, like a battery, has a negative and a positive point, and that produces the energy, the play between the negative and positive poles of the battery. But this yin and yang is expressed through all levels of nature down here, and so we have very definite male and female genders. We have night and day. We have good and bad, or very, very polarized. As we move up the human ladder, this polarization becomes less and less as we move back into oneness. But being a level 1 planet Earth is very polarized. So therefore, the yin and yang aspects of good and bad are expressed down here. It's a school planet. People have to have this choice to be able to make the choice as to whether they're going to link into love or fear. That's the whole Armageddon thing. That's what evolution is about, making the right choices as opposed to the wrong choices.
I think Shelley wouldn't agree with the school planet, but that's another problem. You know that. So telepathy now. Why is that humans have it so hard to communicate this way? Is it in due of our concept of ego and our tendency of judging?
We have to communicate this way because we're working in 3D reality down here. And as I say, we have to make this choice. We have to, learn to choose one over the other. It's just part of our learning process as humans. Do you agree with that, Jacquelin?
Totally. Yeah, it's about the learning process and also learning to remember to listen to our heart and soul and not the ego. So it's part of the growing process of not falling into listening to all the lies that the ego tells us, and really going into our heart, into source within us, and honoring that and our soul every day. Before I get out of bed, I just say, help me hear my heart and my soul, because that's the most important thing. And of course, love, the divine love within us. To me, that's more important than anything.
Okay, but our language is, frankly, our language is extremely limited. No, we cannot express our essence, nothing. So my question would be now, is it also just for us, or do Arcturian and Zeta and others have the same problem with language or not?
No, because up there we communicate telepathically. So when you communicate telepathically, we can link into each other's minds. So you could tell straight away if someone wasn't telling the truth. Whereas down here, often what comes out of their mouth isn't what's in their heart.
Yeah, that's my point, you see, because I'm actually I'm frustrated. I don't know why, but I'm frustrated. I mean, I would like to communicate telepathically, but I can't. So that's the thing. Why is it so complicated?
It's not.
Because it's a level 1 planet.
But I just want to say that telepathy is innate for all of us. And it's just learning how to, I guess I would just offer learning how to flow and open your heart and listen. Like when I teach people how to communicate with animals and star beings, I just suggest that they open their heart. Now, if there's fear, it's going to block it. But opening the heart, and everyone receives in a different way. So some people may get visual images, some people will see, as I mentioned, will hear, will just know. So there are all these different forms that, or ways that could be considered telepathy, and there's no one right way. So it's about just listening, and most people have a hard time listening. going out and just sitting by a tree and listening to what that tree has to communicate, and trusting that. A lot of people get caught when they say, oh, that was probably just my imagination, yet they were truly hearing the tree or the animal, because all life forms communicate telepathically. It's not just star beings, it's all life forms, because this is what I've done for 40 years or more, actually. So it's about coming into the heart. It becomes hard when the mind and the ego struggle, or is trying to get something, or making judgments that limits. So it's just about opening and listening. And then that flow can happen. Like with an animal, if you connect your heart to their heart, you can hear them. They may not speak in words. Again, you may get an image, you may know, but when I do this work, my brain translates the energy in the words so that I can work with people and their animals. So I hope that helps somehow.
Yeah, a little bit. Then I have another question, a little bit more personal. Could it be possible that a starseed to be a starseed without knowing it, and being abducted without knowing it, as part of an immersion mission? Is that possible? Oh, I think that Jacquelin wants Judy to reply.
Yeah,
I'll answer, and then you can let Jude. I'd like to hear what Jude says. So everyone's a starseed. Everyone here on this planet is a starseed. Everyone is from the stars. So there can be different frequency levels for each being. Some are meant to be more awake and to be more in touch with the star beings, and that might be part of their mission. Other people might be here to learn about how to deal with emotions, or how to do something else. So everyone has their own mission. It's just everyone has their own mission. We're all not meant to be the same.
Okay.
We are all starseeds.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And see, Laura, you're next. Where are you, Laura? In the United States?
I'm in Washington, United States.
Washington State. Oh, you're
Washington
close by.
State, yeah,
Yeah.
near Canada. So I was curious when you talked about them taking like a strand of hair and using the DNA and creating children. What happens to these children? Like, who's taking care of them, and like what becomes of them?
Well, they're taken care of on the ships. So when a hybrid children is created, my experience has been very loving beings. The Zetas, my star family in this life, the tall white Zeta masters, they're very loving guardians. And I visited the ship to interact with my hybrid children, and part of the reason for that is so the child can better understand feelings and their humanness and the weight that up. So I have been on the ship a number of times and held my hybrid children. Again, this is for the sake of evolution for humanity, but for other races as well. For the Zetas, the Repterrans, other races, the Syrians, to continue to evolve in their journey as well. And then, as I mentioned, these children go out into other star systems, continue to teach and give their DNA, which has human DNA in it, to continue to share that and to evolve. Jude, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, yeah. From what I understand, every human race in the whole universe has something to offer. And so therefore, a mixture of DNA just expands the whole thing, opens up more and more consciousness. That's basically what it's about. It's about evolution and accessing more and more conscious awareness.
Do you have children in this dimension?
I don't, and Jacquelin doesn't,
I don't either.
partially.
I have a hybrid daughter in
Hybrid child, yeah.
another country, but no
Do
human.
are they like our 13-year-old daughters who talk back and are fresh?
No.
How our
No.
children are here, sometimes they get little attitudes and stuff.
No, because these, I mean, we have emotions in that. And I don't even know how to talk about it, but because they're much more, they come in being much more evolved and mature. And so they are clear on what their missions are, what they're here to do, what they were created for. So it's not like it is on this human level. Again, remember we're in duality here and we're in a denser level of learning and growing in consciousness. So it's a whole different ball game.
Also, we don't carry our consciousness through death. I mean, death on Earth is the end. It's a huge tragedy. And in actual fact, it's not. It's just a transition to another state. And so the ET children and the hybrids have the ability to be able to carry their consciousness through, whereas we tend to lose our consciousness at the end of death, and then we're reborn down here. We haven't carried it across. This is a little bit where Jacquelin and I were different. We sort of carried our consciousness across because we practiced, I think the Buddhists call it conscious dying. So you don't lose your consciousness, you carry it through. So you still have all that information at your fingertips when you come through.
Okay, I have another question. I don't know if you could answer this or not, but I'm kind of curious about like the planes that disappear, like the Malaysian flight and stuff, that like maybe they've gone into another dimension and that they're maybe all somewhere else, or do you know anything about that?
I think they do. I think they go through another dimension. What do you reckon, Jacquelin?
Yeah, I feel the same thing because I had tuned into some of that, and they just a portal can open and they can end up going into another dimension.
So like I wonder about like these families that never got, the people never like landed at the other airport, and so are all these people like living some life on another planet?
I don't think they're on well, I can't say for sure, but they could be living in another dimension.
The same as like when we die?
No, it's different.
Yeah, there's so many different dimensions.
Countless dimensions, and each soul gets to decide where they go.
So the people on the plane would be in the same place or different places?
Initially, just my perspective on that is that they can initially go up as a group, but then they can go to whatever that they decide, to go into, that their consciousness resonates with.
Another thing that's not understood down here is that we plan our death and manner of death or passing over before we're even born into a life. So no death is actually accidental. Everything has a purpose behind it. The great teachers go on about that a lot. There are no accidents. Ultimately, there are no accidents.
And then one other question. So when when you go on the ship, it sounds like you're saying you still do it. Are you saying that you do it like just in your mind? Because I was kind of curious about, you know, oxygen and, you know, how people survive when they're abducted and go to another place.
You generally go in your astral form. Some people I think are taken physically, but I haven't had any experience with that. Have you? Yeah, you have, haven't you, Jacquelin? You've been taken physically.
Yeah, I've had both of those kinds of experiences, and they because I was on the ships a lot starting around age 3 and up through teens, and so sometimes I was there astrally and sometimes physically. They actually, when I was there physically, gave me like a little bowl of, best I can compare it to is kind of like honey, sometimes to help raise my blood sugar because of the change of frequencies when I was a really young child. And so and one time when they came to get me and I volunteered, I wanted to go on a mothership. And so when I came back, I just felt like, wow, like I had hit a wall. And when I woke up, my pillow was flipped upside down at the end of the other side of the bed. There were pillowcases, it sounds crazy, that were all folded in that. There's no way I did any of that. And that was their way of saying to me, we took you physically. Your body was not here. And I had over 3 days of missing time and lots of other things. But so you can experience it physically or astrally. I think a lot of people do, like Jude said, experience it astrally. I think there were reasons why they wanted to take me on the ship physically as well. So, and they were also did lots of healings on me in 2013 with my body. So my body needed to be there.
Yeah.
How did you breathe?
Well, there's no concern about breathing. It's you're in a space that's you don't have to be concerned about breathing. It's like there's no time, there's no space. And I don't know how to explain it, but no problem. And you know, these star beings, they can adjust anything they want to on the ship as well. They used to do that when I was younger. We had like a nap time on the ship, and they would wrap me and the other children like in golden robes that were really robes of light that would help us rest and keep us stable. So they know how to do all of that. I don't know if that makes sense. It's a challenge to put all this in the words.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
It really is. But
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so Mark, guess you're next.
Okay. We had about 3 questions here. Are the ETs you work with aware what the Earth's core is made of? And are they aware that the Earth's core is unstable?
go ahead, Jude.
They would be. They know way more than we do.
Have they conversed with you on that subject at all?
Not with me. I don't
No.
know if they have with Jacquelin.
No.
Okay. So, and then the next question is, according to ETs, what is space? And I'm speaking about in this material universe right here. Have they described it to you? Have they told you exactly what it is?
Space is how can I say? It's dimensions of reality, an endless number of dimensions of reality. That's all it is. Everything in the here and now. So it's just dimensional frequencies. The whole universe is energy, nothing more, nothing less.
So that's more like of a superverse
Mm.
perspective.
Yeah, or a multiverse.
Yeah.
It's
But
energy.
just our space right here, just where we're at right now here on Earth and the galaxies and the stars that we see, this local space, do they have any word they use to describe it? Any physical properties they talk about, anything like that?
Just
Are they
basically energy,
just
energy at multi-frequencies, multi-frequency energy. And that's the only difference between anything in the universe is the rate of frequency.
it affects the density? It
Yeah.
affects the density, right?
Yeah. And it's
Okay.
also consciousness too.
Yeah, I guess space really comes from consciousness, God
Well,
consciousness.
space is that's right. Space is
Yes, yeah.
consciousness. Consciousness.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. All
Yeah.
right.
And that permeates every living sentient being in the universe, including minerals. You know, it's not just humans.
Including even the energy itself.
Yeah.
Living.
Okay. Thank you.
That's significant. Space is consciousness. Thank you for that. And Anik, you're next, and then me.
Am I back? Yes, I am back. So I have a question. Am I correct when I think that the so-called New World Order is a new way of hijacking Earth's ascension?
Yes, as far as I can see, it is. What do you reckon,
Yeah?
Jacquelin?
Yeah, I feel like definitely it's a structure that's trying to be imposed to mislead people.
Yeah. So much disinformation out there. I know people talk about mainstream media, but it's everywhere. So much disinformation.
No, because it sounds good, no?
Yeah. And it's dramatic. People love drama. Those humans love drama. I mean, right from kids, they're linking into horror films and things.
Yeah,
They
because
love
actually,
it.
if you think about it, the New World Order, what they say is basically the same.
Yeah. It's all drama. So the more you can just stand back from it, the better off you are. Don't get sucked into it.
I was asking, did you meet, you two are far away, yeah? So did you meet on Earth already or only on the ships?
Both. I mean, we haven't met face to face physically down here because Jacquelin lives in America and I live in Australia, but we've met via Skype, but we do meet up on the ship.
Ah, okay, but that was my last question. Thank you.
Okay, my turn. I want to ask about these motherships. Susie Hansen's husband drew this image behind me of a mothership. I think it's like a small city-sized ship. I just wrote the words on it. It's another project we're working on. But there's this, she described it as walnut shape with this rim around the engine, which is like a landing deck. And in 1986, Japan Airlines was flying over Alaska, a very famous case. And on 747, it was following them for over an hour and everybody saw it. And the pilot lost his job as a pilot. He had a desk job because as a pilot, he admitted that he saw this. So I'm wondering, is this type of mothership, is this typical? Are there like all kinds of them around planet Earth? Or have you seen or been on this particular type of mothership, either of you?
Looks pretty typical to me, but I know there are different ones.
Right, there are, yeah, as Jude says, there are different kinds of ships depending on the race, but that looks pretty typical.
Yeah.
Star.
Yeah. Do you have a sense of how big they are? Like, yeah, how many miles across? Like, this is just stupendous. Like, it's an amazing thing to consider, and how many of them are there, and are they all over the galaxy? You know?
Yeah, they can be city-sized. They're huge.
Yeah, the mothership I was on was city size in 2013, and it's just yeah, it was city size.
Wow. Like
Yeah,
some
and so-
cities are small, like maybe 1 or 2 miles across or 10 miles across. Have any idea?
Well, not more than 10 miles.
More like in terms of diameter, more than 10 miles.
Oh, like maybe 200 miles.
Wow. 200 miles.
I mean, some can be that big. And also with the ships, you know, they can expand if they want to, and they can also appear smaller if they want to, you know, with the dimensions within the ships. They have this incredible way that that I actually talk about in my book, that they can just, you know, the walls within the ship, they can just move them, and there's no longer a wall there. There's no longer a door. Of course, it's all holographic. And I think of it as just, not just, but a geometric structure, a holographic structure. So it's flexible in the sense it can be as large as they want it to or as small as they want it to. How about you, Jude?
Yeah, yeah. And another thing, and I remember this was brought up in the Harry Potter movies, the room of requirement. If you need a room, you can basically create it with your mind. And there are portals on the ships, because people often pass through the ships when they transition down here. They're brought onto the ships and given what we jokingly talk about as the death talk, and then they're sent off to wherever they need to go. So I remember back in 2019, a memory of being up on the ship with masses and masses and masses of people being brought on board, and it was like a chaotic airport, and they were being sent to all these different, basically gateways, to use a term that people could understand. So yeah, we wondered what was going on then. Of course, that was just before the COVID thing struck.
Yeah, I want to comment also, the ancient Hindu Vedic teachings describe vimanas, and if you go inside them, sometimes they look much bigger on the inside than they are on the outside. Like people going to a UFO that's 40 feet across and inside, you know, you could throw a football to the end of it. So that's an ancient Vedic writings. That's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. So Bobby, I think you're next.
It's Carrie here. A question about time. So as I understand it, there is no past, present, and future. For example, the way I understand it or can absorb it is that I can bring back to reality myself at 5 years old and bring that reality into existence right now. So me at 5 can be right next to me here right now. And it's hard for me to grasp. Let's say I think about my ancestors, my grandparents, who are no longer here, but I know they're there because I can feel them and communicate with them. But are they still existing in their life somewhere at 20 or raising their children in some other dimension? Do they have because I imagine that when they pass, they have the awareness of everything, they remember everything. And is their youth or their life, this past life here on Earth with them now, wherever they are, and are they experiencing their life and making it a reality somewhere?
Oh yes, reality is, you know, it's interdimensional. There are realities in every dimension. So depending on what dimension you're in is your reality. So if we're here in 3D, this is our reality. If you're there in 5D, that's your reality. And we're creating our realities all the time. So basically with them, it depends on what reality they're creating for themselves at this time. It's just the same as when someone dies, you hear near-death experiences where people go over and they come back and they say, oh, there was nothing there, it was all just black, because they don't believe there's anything there. So therefore they create that blackness. And then the doctors bring them back. If they stayed over there, eventually they would suddenly realize, but hey, hang on, I'm conscious that I'm here in this blackness. And that their mind would then start to open up a little bit. And that's when other beings can come in and contact them and help them to, you know, come to more full consciousness.
Did you want to ask more about time?
I'm just, so just to clarify that a bit more, so depending on, let's say, where my grandparents are and whatever reality they are creating for themselves, they could be bringing in with them a part of their past, what they
Oh, yes.
experienced here.
Yes. Yeah, because it's all actually in the here and now. So they don't leave their past behind. Their past is still with them.
Right. Wow.
It's really hard, as Jacqueline said before, to put it into 3D words is so
Yeah,
hard.
but it's interesting because as I talk more or discuss more, like having this wonderful opportunity with you, a little more of the door opens up and I can see just a little glimmer.
Yeah. My co-host Paula Jane and I, who we do podcasts on YouTube, we're actually doing one right now on death, and we're going to then continue in the next one on the in-between life experience. So we'll be talking about that on our podcasts.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, tell them about your YouTube channel. Is it called Judy Carroll?
No, it's www.youtube.com/user/the Zeta message, and the Zeta message is all one word with a capital T, capital Z, and capital M.
But if anyone goes into YouTube and search engine, they
Yeah.
just have to type in the Zeta message.
Oh yeah.
And what about Jacquelin? Is your YouTube channel called Jacquelin Smith? I think so, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Thank you. That was great. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Good crowd. It's one of our better videos. This is a great meetup. I'm so happy. Couldn't have done it without you. Imagine me just asking questions. It's great to have a group. So I really appreciate everyone's questions. So Mark, you're next.
Just a quick comment on time. As I understand it, why we experience time here is because there's a real physical space. Without the dimension of space, you can't really have time because you can't develop intervals. And so in places like in the afterlife where there is no time, there really isn't any space either. So everything is in the now. That's just my impression on that. I don't know if you guys have encountered anything similar to that in your experience with ETs, but I have a quick question for you. What race flies the cylinder-shaped motherships?
Do you know, Jacqueline? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. No.
The reason why I ask is because the shape of that ship indicates to me they're not a very advanced. That geometry is an entry-level ship.
Why
And
do
so,
you, I'm curious why you think that.
in order to create or use the emitters that they use for the flight, it's easy to build cylinders, magnetic field cylinders or coils, and then build the field into a dipole and then move it. It's just mechanically, geometrically easy to put the warp field, if you want to call it that, around it. So it's a simple geometry. The more complex the geometry, generally speaking, the more advanced the people of that who created that technology. So I'm very interested in those guys because they have what I would consider entry-level technology for starship travel based on their simple geometry.
So I just want to suggest that, and I understand the way you're viewing it, but that might not be the truth because you're viewing it from a very physical point of view.
Definitely, yes.
So, but it may not be the most advanced form.
Well, somebody hopefully will know who these guys, because they've been showing up for decades, and I'm really curious as to know more about them.
You know, Mark, I think there's a photo in 1870 in New Hampshire of a cylindrical UFO.
Yeah, I've seen some too, and the little craft are buzzing around it. You know, it's great stuff. I says, I got to know these guys. I want to know what they're about because I think I could learn a lot from them, but I guess we don't know who they are yet.
Might be the Syrians. I'm kind of getting the Syrians.
The Syrians. Well, I'll keep that in mind and do some searches on that and see if that matches anything. Thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, my turn next. The mission statement for our meetup group is we want to raise awareness about the ET agenda for human advancement. So I want to ask you both, how do you see the process unfolding, say, in the next generation, next 100, 200 years, the next 1,000 years? Like, where is mankind going? What do you both feel is the process that we're experiencing?
Go ahead, Jude.
Well, this Armageddon thing that we're going through at the moment is really going to determine that, whether we tune into love. And when I use the term love, I'm talking about unconditional love. I'm not talking about sexual love or possessive love or anything. We're talking about unconditional, pure heart love. Whether we're going to tune into that or whether we're going to tune into the fear. So the negative forces down here feed off human emotions, fear emotions. So they're doing their best to keep us there. And ones like Jacquelin and I and many, many others of our people down here are doing our best to help people to tune into love. So that's what's going to determine what happens over the next 100 or 1,000 years.
Yeah. No, there's nothing set in stone. There's nothing, it depends on the collective's choices as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's uncertain. We could go downhill and destroy ourselves. But if we succeed, like things go well, do you see it as a hybridization process? Will the future, like, will it be a new human that's telepathic and with that sort of Zeta or gray consciousness in humanity in the future if things work out well?
That's what we're evolving towards.
Yeah, and that is, opening now. I mean, and so what's going on, many people are more aware and awake.
Yeah. Another thing Maris once said to us, he said that there's an earth to suit everybody, because we've got to remember that our planet is multidimensional as well. And my feeling is, and I'm not exactly sure on this, I get some feedback from Jacquelin, but I think that it'll happen through reincarnation. Where we're tuning into when we pass over and reincarnate again will be the earth that we're drawn to. Does that sort of make sense to you, Jacquelin?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, the soul gets to choose where it wants to place it or to go at that point. Because there's so many dimensions to the earth that, I mean, we don't even think about usually, that most people don't even.
Yeah. Because again, going back to the human ladder, I remember Oris or Maris, whoever it was who was telling us about it, said we actually have a part of our being on every level of the human ladder. So often when we're visited by, say, an angel or a highly evolved ET, it's part of our own consciousness, our soul, that is on a higher level of the ladder.
Yeah, I have the same idea about the future. It is uncertain. I guess even from the mantis level, the future's uncertain. It's not set. So if we don't destroy ourselves, I agree that I guess all of us engaged here, we're trying to evolve to this higher human, a new human, sort of where we would like to go.
Yeah, and many people are getting more in tune with the innate gifts that they have within them of clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, which is hopeful. Me, that's a positive thing. And I would just like to throw out too that globally many people are speaking light languages now, which also will help the evolutionary process, because with light languages and star languages, it's speaking beyond the ego. In other words, it's the light language, the ego is set aside. the ego doesn't understand, but the soul, the bodies, the heart understands these languages that are of very high frequency, and these doors are opening very quickly worldwide. So I see that as part of our evolutionary process, and it's a direct way of speaking light. It's beyond words. That makes sense.